This is really gonna bust up some fucking people, and they're just gonna be, the tears are gonna flow.
I don't care what anybody says.
Go on, lay it on me, roast me.
I'm more of a positive guy.
Yeah, I have an unpopular opinion here.
One hot take that will definitely send people after me to revoke my metal card.
It's other shit.
Ja, bare en gang bunke lort.
I mean, fucking hell.
Stop that bullshit.
This one I like.
Kiss is like for 7 or 9 years old.
It's an opinion. We all have them. We all like different things.
If you still can't take it, you know what we say at the Merciful Metal channel. Bye.
Welcome to the third Hot Takes and Unpopular Opinions video, where we have a look at your hot takes and unpopular opinions. We have a bit of fun, and we also stick it to the people who think that in order to be a good fan of whatever it is we're talking about, you have to follow certain trends in opinions, because that's a load of garbage. So let's have a look at your hot takes and unpopular opinions. Let's start with Rusty Darlington, who says Annette is the best Nightwish singer. And Rusty even made a video too, so here's his elaboration on that statement.
Nightwish's Imaginarium is a fantastic album, but I'm not defending the album. I'm defending the singer. Annette Olson is Nightwish's best singer. I'm going to say it. Yes, Floor is amazing. I've heard her do The Greatest Show on Earth, and I've heard her do Ghost Love Score. Talia also is a fantastic singer. She does the Ghost Love Score on the album, as she did it live, obviously. Great stuff. Wishmaster, fantastic. When Floor does all the early stuff, like Dark Chester Wonders and whatnot, awesome stuff. But, I'm sorry, I will defend this album and Annette to the ends of the earth, because this is the album where I found the band. This is the album that has Storytime on it, which was the first Nightwish song I ever heard, and that moved mountains for me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This very quickly became an album that I was obsessed with, and still am, you know, nearly 15 years later after it came out. This came out in 2011, pretty sure, November 30. And, you know, to this day, I still jam it in its entirety. Every track on this is perfect. Even the album before it, Dark Passion Play, which has Annette on it, is top 3. I think it's Nightwish's darkest album. It's because of the era that was going on there. Just fired Talia, and now she's coming, so a lot of the songs on there are real dark and moody. But still, that she sounds great on there, and she sounds amazing on this. I was gutted and worried when I found out that she had been not fired or let go, or you know, she had left. I was like, oh great, what if they get another singer like Talia, who wasn't my favorite at the time, but then they replaced it with Floor, and I was fine. I'm not saying they're bad singers, but in my opinion, Annette's the best one, just because I've always got a special spot for her. No one will replace that in terms of the Nightwish catalogue. But yeah, if you haven't heard Imaginarium, go listen to it, and it might just blow you away. It's concept-y, symphonic, amazing.
This is where I'm gonna come out as a bit of a douchebag and say that I don't even like Nightwish in the first place. I don't dislike them, I have to say. I just don't like their music. I don't dislike it either. It just doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't click with me. I've heard a bunch of their songs. And I think this because I generally just don't like a lot of like European symphonic metal for whatever reason. It doesn't do it for me. But I do think that it's strange that when you have, you know, bands that have had lineup changes, I think it's strange that very often in the fandoms, you have these ideas that you have to like particular members or ex-members more than others. And if you don't follow those patterns of liking and disliking particular members, you're not a true fan. That's so strange to me. So I guess that Annette is an ex-member of Nightwish. I guess I don't know that much about their history, but someone who's been involved in Nightwish that you're supposed to not have as your favorite singer. And I think that's weird, man. If you like her voice and her style of singing the best, why should she not be your favorite singer? That's so weird to me. So power to Rusty Darlington for coming out and saying that she is actually his favorite Nightwish singer. The next hot take is a very hot take. It's gonna burn, it's gonna sting, it's gonna hurt a lot of people. It's Garage Geek himself who says Jimi Hendrix is so overrated. Yeah, that hurt, didn't it? That stung. Now, Jimi Hendrix, I think he's probably the most influential and important guitarist in the world of rock music. What he could do with a guitar, nobody had done that before his time, and I don't think he's been successfully replicated by anybody else after his time. He was a huge influence on rock music in general and on heavy rock music and metal in particular. And I think if you ask a lot of like 80s metal musicians, they would probably say that one of their biggest influences and favorite guitarists, that's Jimi Hendrix. I think a lot of people will say that. Now, I think it's fair to say that it wasn't really like technical playing he was known for. It wasn't like, putting music theory into intricate guitar solos. It wasn't really shredding as such he was known for. I think more it was the feel and the sound and the vibe of his guitar playing that made him the best guitarist ever to a lot of people. But I can also, by the same token, I can see that if that's not what you like in guitar work, I can definitely see why he wouldn't be your favorite guitarist and why he wouldn't be the best guitarist ever to you. I can definitely see that. It makes a lot of sense to me. Now, personally, I do have a couple of Jimi Hendrix albums, and I like all of them, and I've liked every single Jimi Hendrix song that I've heard, but I can easily understand why he's not everybody's favorite guitarist. Now, I know that Garage Geek really likes I, Robot by the Alan Parsons Project because he challenged me to listen to it a couple of years ago, and I ended up really liking it to the point that I picked up a vinyl copy of it in original pressing even. And I know that this is most fans of Alan Parsons Project, that's their favorite album of all time. But you know what? There are people out there don't share that sentiment. Check out that vinyl channel and what he has to say.
So I did a ranking video of the Alan Parsons Project's studio albums. They have 10 studio albums, and I put up my ranking from the least liked to the most liked. And it has to do with this album right here called I, Robot. Now, in my rankings, I put this at number 9, which is not good because number 1 was the best, 10 was the worst. I put this at number 9, and it was very unpopular because I got a lot of comments down below the video telling me how dare I put this at number 9. It was in their top 3. It was their number 1. It should be much higher than that. It's the best thing since sliced bread, etc., etc. And so I was definitely an unpopular opinion. For the most part, I had a couple of people who said, yeah, that they agreed, but most people said that no, I was crazy, I was out of my mind, and that this should have been up in the top 3, if not number 1. So that was definitely an unpopular opinion back then. Now, since then, I've played it a few more times, and I've got to reflect on those comments and on the video. I've watched it several times since then. And I will say that, okay, maybe not number 9, but it may move up just 1 or 2 slots, maybe up to maybe number 8 or number 7. But it's still not in the top 3, still not number 1. And sliced bread is still better than this. So that's still an unpopular opinion. My top 3 albums by Alan Parsons are going to be the same. We have Eye in the Sky, which is right here. You know, I don't remember the number 3. I think it might have been this one here, which I really like. This is Tales of Mystery and Imagination, which I think is their debut album. And of course, my number 1 pick, which is still my number 1 pick today, is Turn Up a Friendly Card.
Yeah, how about that? That's a different take on the Alan Parsons Project discography. And okay, up next we have 2 hot takes from Randora's Music World. The first one is that Skid Row's Subhuman Race isn't a bad record, and maybe it's just as good as their self-titled album. I agree. This is not a bad album. I have it on CD. I picked it up recently. I've had it on vinyl for a while because I bought the box set it was in. And I think this is a great album. Is it different from their previous output? Yes, it is. This is clearly a band trying to navigate the 90s rock scene where fun and party loving hair and glam metal was no longer popular. So, what they did on this album was they went in a darker and heavier and much groovier direction. And I think it's awesome. I think this is an awesome album. Heavy, groovy, awesome. The vocals are still great, so I don't see the problem there. So I think this is a great album. Is it as good as self-titled? Is it as good as Slave to the Grind? I don't know. I think all three albums have different things to offer. My favorite Skid Row album is probably still Slave to the Grind, although it has two songs that I actually don't like on it, but the rest are awesome. The self-titled has a lot of fantastic songs on it, and in my opinion, this one has a lot of fantastic songs on it too. So I agree with Randoros Music World on that one. The next hot take is, it's almost sad that this actually is a hot take, but he says, you can both listen to heavy metal and softer music like Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift. And I gotta, come out and say immediately, I agree. But why is this a hot take? It's a hot take because in the metal fandom, ever since I can remember, and probably earlier than that, there's been this idea that to be a true fan of metal, you have to listen to only metal music. There might be some other exceptions. Maybe a little bit of hardcore punk is allowed. Uh, I remember some of the black metal bands in the local scene. Back in the day, you were allowed to like Depeche Mode and an artist called Xavier Johnson for some reason. But other than that, it had to be black metal, not even death metal, black metal. Um, Back in the day, that local scene, I have to say. Um, and there's this idea that if you listen to, in particular, kind of pop music, you're not a true fan of metal. Even if you love grindcore, death metal, black metal, and you also happen to like, I don't know, like Taylor Swift, you're not a true metal fan. You're not allowed to listen to that pop music stuff. That's so weird to me. You can like whatever you like. If you like death metal and you also like Taylor Swift, that doesn't make you any worse of a death metal fan. Such a bizarre idea. You can like whatever you like. And if you like death metal and pop music and hip hop at the same time, that's what you like. It's nobody's business. They don't have any right to get mad at you over it, although a lot of people do. Such a weird thing. Now, personally, Miley Cyrus, Taylor Swift, I don't have anything against their music, but it's just not music that appeals to me. It's just not music that does anything to me, if you know what I mean. I know that in itself is a very hot take in, among the fans of those artists, but that's just what it's like to me. But if you like Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift, I won't have a problem with it. I like death metal and thrash metal and some black metal and doom metal and grindcore and speed metal and all that stuff. But there are also some other pop artists that I like. Hell, I mean, I even like Rick Astley. I'm not even Rick-rolling you. I actually quite like Never Gonna Give You Up. I think that's a fun pop song. So yeah, there you go. There you go. That made me unpopular, I think. But I agree 100% with the Randerers on this. Of course, you can listen to heavy metal music and other styles of music. And the whole idea that you shouldn't be able to do that is just dumb. So I think Randerers Music World and myself, we agree 100% on this take. So there you go. Now let's turn to another theme, namely albums that everybody hates and you're actually not supposed to like, but you kind of like them anyways. So Let's start with George G's Rumor Rock. He brings up a certain Blue Oyster Cult album that everybody hates and you're not supposed to like it, but he actually kind of likes it. Check this out.
This band's basically pop rock, pop metal, we want to call it, album. People put it down to pretty bottom of the list, but I like it. Blue Oyster Cult with Club Ninja, and I like it. It's a good album. There's nothing wrong. It's still poppy. It's more hair metal-ish, I guess, but that's what everyone was doing at that time. But White Flags, Dancing in the Ruins, Make Rock Not War, kind of silly title, but it's good. Beat 'em Up's a good tune. Shadow Warrior, Madness to the Method, pretty good. So another album I like that people don't like, Blue Oyster Cult.
Now, I have to admit that Blue Oyster Cult is one of the many bands I never took the time to check out. I've heard some of their songs. Some of them I like, some of them I don't like. So I don't know about this. I don't think I've heard this album, but definitely it's a band it's on my bucket list. I want to check them out, and when I get around to doing that, I will definitely check out this album too. And who knows, I might like it. Now, up next, we have Mr. Thirsty himself, Mark, from the Wandering Souls webzine channel, who quite likes The Sound of White Noise by Anthrax. Check this out.
Anthrax is a band has a lot of fame for spreading disease among the living, or persistence of time, for example. And that's the albums people tend to watch when they listen to Anthrax. I understand are fantastic albums, don't get me wrong. I also love this one a lot. Unpopular opinion, Sound of White Noise is one of the best albums. Yeah, unpopular opinion. Why? It's catchy. It is different though, but the vocals are good, the songs are good. It has a certain vibe on it that continues the whole album. To me, this is one of the albums I like to listen the most from Anthrax. How weird does it sound? Yes, it sounds weird. It's a different album, it's a different singer, but I really like this album, Sound of White Noise. This was released in 93, I think. Yeah, 1993. I thought this was a really good listen. Polisfield, Only is Room for One More. Pro Glow, yeah, fantastic. But Only is definitely one of my favorite tracks on this one. It's really catchy as hell. Good song. Go check out this album. Jan Bush on vocals from Armored Saint. A good singer. This is definitely one of the better albums with him on vocals, if you ask me.
Now, I have to admit that I am more of a fan of Joey Belladonna Anthrax than John Bush Anthrax. But strangely enough, it was actually The Sound of White Noise that got me into Anthrax in the first place. Before that, I actually didn't like Anthrax at all. And I think it's because the only two albums I had access to, because this was way back before the internet and all that stuff, that was the two only Anthrax albums that the local music library had. And I picked them up a bunch of times, and I gave him so many chances, and they just didn't click with me. One of them was Attack of the Killer Bees, and that's not an album at all. It's just like a compilation of weird B-sides. So no wonder that I didn't like that. Now I do. I enjoy it. I think it's good fun, but that's not the first Anthrax album I think you should listen to, or at least it wasn't in my case. And the other one was The Persistence of Time, which is actually a great album, but I just wasn't ready for that kind of music at the time. So I didn't like Anthrax for the longest time, but then I heard The Sound of White Noise, which was more of a groove metal album, alternative metal, groove metal. And I was big into groove metal at the time, so that album just clicked with me. I loved Only and Room for One More, Pottersfield. I just thought they were great songs. And John Bush's vocals were fantastic. And I still feel like that. I still love The Sound of White Noise, and I think John Bush is a great vocalist. But that encouraged me to go back and check out the early stuff. And I realized I like that even more, with Belladonna on vocals, great singer too, great riffs, fantastic, more thrash metal music, and even The Persistence of Time. I love that album now. But yeah, thanks to The Sound of White Noise, I got into Anthrax, so I have a soft spot for that album too. Now the rest of the John Bush fronted era is a bit hit and miss for me. And I know a lot of people who trash everything that he was on other than The Sound of White Noise. But you know what? There are some fans of some of the other John Bush fronted albums. For example, Metal Never Dies really likes Volume 8. Check this out.
This is a good album. A lot of people talk smack about this album. Volume 8, The Threat is Real. I think I'm just tired of people shitting on Anthrax all the time. It's like they're the worst out of the big four. They're still one of the big four. They're still a great metal band. They're a great thrash metal band. So I'm just tired of people shitting on them. To me, this is not a bad album. This is like maybe the one country song that I don't really care for. But I just think this is a fun album. It just sounds like they had fun making this album. This is just a fun album. Honestly, it's one of the first albums that I got into Anthrax with the Stop 442 and Sound of What Noise. And I was a fan of John Bush. And when this album came out, it has some groove vibes on it. You do a bunch of different stuff. And it doesn't bother me at all. I really enjoy this album. So I listened to this album a lot when it came out and stuff like that. I like it. Dimebag's on here. Phil Anselmo sings on a track on here. He does some backing vocals and stuff like that. Awesome stuff.
Now, to me, Volume 8 is hit or miss. There are some pretty cool things and some great songs in that album, but there are also some things that I just don't like, even some things I dislike. So to me, it's kind of a meh album, but I get it. If people like it, I completely get that because there are some good things on there that could rope people in my opinion. And I don't want to exclude the idea that it's basically perhaps because maybe there were some things on that album that I just haven't discovered on the album, that I haven't paid attention to, that I would like. So I'm not going to exclude the possibility that at some point I might like Volume 8 more than I do now. So yeah, and the same thing with We've Come From For You All and the Stump album. As it is now, I think they're hit or miss. Maybe in the future I'll like it more. I don't know. But for the time being, I think it's great that those albums have their fans too. And I do think John Bush is a fantastic singer. I do like what he did with, and I think he's back now. I think they even put out an album recently, Armored Saint. That's the John Bush stuff I really like, and the Sound of White Noise. So there you go. Up next, we have Nasty Boy Scott himself talking about one of his favorite, if not his favorite, death metal band. Check this out.
I think Hypocrisy is my favorite death metal band, and I think that's a hot take because they came late. Their first album wasn't until '92, when a lot of the people who had been into it for a while were kind of almost over death metal. And honestly, the first album, I think the first half of it for sure is just kind of like a little by the numbers. I don't think the better songs come at the end. So I think if you're reviewing death metal at the time, you heard it and you're like, oh, fucking whatever, another death metal band. But I think Hypocrisy, throughout their career, they've had lots of kind of twists and turns and going back to the roots and then exploring more. I think they're probably my favorite death metal band.
So I actually didn't know that Hypocrisy was not a super popular death metal band. This might be because it took me some time to get into death metal. Back in the day, in the early 90s, I actually didn't like it, simply because of the vocals. I could not stomach the harsh, growled, guttural vocals. Eventually, that singing style clicked with me, and I became a big fan of death metal, to the point that I was even in death metal bands and stuff. But because I wasn't into death metal way back in the early 90s, and late 80s, of course, I don't think I ever really acquired any knowledge of what bands you were supposed to really like and what bands you were supposed to really dislike, and that never really had an influence on what I like death metal style or death metal wise. So there are some death metal bands that I know are just universally beloved that I kind of don't like. They're kind of boring to me. And there are some death metal bands I'm sure that are less popular that I actually really like. When it comes to Hypocrisy, I have not a hot take, but a dumb take on them, and that's this. The first couple of albums, I think they're great. Just solid Swedish death metal. But after they changed their logo from a really evil looking logo to a not so evil looking logo, I kind of lost interest in them. And I haven't had the interest in checking out any of the stuff they put out that has the not evil logo on it. I know that's a stupid take, but I don't know. It's just that change from the evil logo to a more like typical 90s looking logo. I don't know. That put me off completely. Now, Nasty Boy Scott himself has actually recommended that I check out some of their non-evil logo albums. So I will probably do that at some point. But yeah, there you go. Hypocrisy. Nasty Boy Scott loves hypocrisy, and I think that's great. Up next, we have S&T Young talking about one of the Dog Throne albums that are less popular, but he actually quite digs it. Check this out.
The Underground Resistance by Dark Throne. Out of the Dark Throne stuff, I love their early stuff, especially the death metal stuff. But unpopular opinion, I like their later stuff, like Circle Wagons and the Underground Resistance and Fuck Off and Die. Those albums are really freaking awesome. This one is like a speed, crust punk, thrash metal album, I guess. One of my favorite song of all time is on this album by Dark Throne. That's Leave No Crossing Turns. I fucking love it. Love Valkyrie. It's a ballad, which is really strange for Dark Throne. I also love the Doomy, Come Warfare, the entire Doom. I really dig that one too.
So there you go. You can actually like some Dark Throne albums from the not so black metal era. I mean, they've reinvented themselves a bunch of times. So, you know, they have lots of different styles in their catalog now. I do think that the convention is that you have to like those couple of black metal albums they put out in the 90s. And but hey, even if you like their debut death metal album, I don't see a problem in that. And if you like the more punky stuff, I don't see a problem in that. Or the more like straight up heavy metal stuff or the doomy stuff, I don't see a problem in that. I don't understand why there are these rules that you have to only like the black metal stuff they put out. I think that's weird. So I think it's great that S&T Young digs that album completely. Now, let's turn to a band, another death metal band that is more or less universally hated. Most people think they're just one big joke. We're talking 6 Feet Under. This band, they actually do have their fans, and there are even people that don't like the band in general that actually quite like some of their albums. For example, George G's Rumor Rock, he actually quite likes this album. Check this out.
This is a band that I have almost everything by but 2 albums because I really don't like the 2 albums they put out. Or is it might be 3 now? But this one, another one people put at the bottom of the list that they don't like. For some reason, I like the album. And his voice is definitely not what it used to be. And not that it's a great voice, it's a death metal band. 6 Feet Under's Torment. People put this one down. I actually like the album. I don't know why I like this one, but I don't like the one before it and the ones after it. This one I like. Sacrificial Kill, Exploratory Homicide, Skeleton, Knife Through the Skull, Funeral Mask, and dumb song Bloody Underwear, but whatever. Roots of Evil, though. But I like the album. I mean, it doesn't sound great. Chris Barnes' voice is pretty bad, but I don't like the album. I don't mind it. I kind of like it. I like this one. Torment, 6 Feet Under. Nobody seems to like that one. I like it, but that's me. I'm weird, so there you go.
And Stormwind79 is a big fan of another 6 Feet Under album, so check this out.
6 Feet Under's Nightmares of the Decomposed. But I like this album, shock horror, because most people, this is the album that people love to hate. They love to shit on this album, absolutely talk shit about it, and just offer completely unconstructive criticism regarding it. I understand some people may genuinely hate it, and I've heard a lot of people say that they do, but for me, I just really enjoy it. Ever since the first time I heard it, I thought, yes, it's true that Chris's voice is not what it used to be, but then you think about most singers, for example, like Paul Stanley or even Bruce Dickinson to a degree, like, do they sound like they did when they first started? No, Chris's voice isn't what it used to be, but having said that, it still has his unique character, and that's the funny thing, he's probably one of the most influential death metal vocalists who's inspired so many vocalists, and so many people can sort of generically rip him off, but Chris is the only one who sounds like himself. it's just something unique about his voice. It's evolved, and he's even said in podcasts and interviews that he tries to make his voice a little bit different on each album as well. But yeah, so it's not in the same league as Tomb of the Mutilated or something, but I still really like his vocals. And first and foremost, the music on this album is just really catchy. I just find so many songs are really catchy, and they have Chris's vocal charm on them. Like some of my favorites on this album would be Amputator. Zodiac is a very catchy song. I also really like Drink Blood, Get High, Labyrinth of Insanity, but like the whole album is really good. There's no songs I actually dislike on this. So it almost seems like it's an established, unwritten law that people have to hate 6 Feet Under or hate Chris Barnes. And I really don't understand all the hate, because they are a good band. Like, maybe not completely consistent. There are some albums that are not as good as others, but there are some really good albums, including this one, and I like this one. In addition to that, I have to say that Chris Barnes strikes me as a pretty cool guy. When I watched the recent podcast, which was fascinating, with Gaza, the guy from Silence, I can't say the full name of the band or the video will be taken down, but that was like a 2.5-hour podcast, and he just seemed like a very laid-back, genuine, easygoing guy. This is Chris I'm talking about. So I thought as a person he seems pretty cool as well. And then even some fans said in response to that, oh, it's all acting. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ, like they can't give him a break. I don't understand why, but yeah, I just don't understand the hate for this album or this band or for Chris. I think all three are pretty cool, actually.
So there you go. There are actually people out there who like some of 6 Feet Under's albums. Personally, I don't have a problem with 6 Feet Under. I've heard a couple of their covers albums, and I think they're kind of fun, but I don't think they're great. And I am probably one of the people that I don't like Chris Barnes's vocals a whole lot. I think on some albums and some songs they sound better than on others, but most of the songs I've heard, I don't like his vocals that much on them, I have to say. But hey, if there are people out there who like some of 6 Feet Under's albums, or who like everything by 6 Feet Under, or who think that, you know, like you saw that Chris Barnes is a pretty cool guy, I don't see the problem in that. That's entirely up to you. I don't even have enough knowledge of 6 Feet Under to really have an opinion at the end of the day on that. I've never met Chris Barnes. I don't know if he's a nice guy or not. I have absolutely no idea and no knowledge of that. What I do know, like I said, is that I don't like his vocals on most of what I've heard, but that's just my taste. Maybe it's because I have bad taste in music, I don't know. But there you go, another round of hot takes and unpopular opinions. Until next time, thanks for watching.
It's warm here.